Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Uttapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sahatvena Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paramahansa Sahagana Lalita Sri He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagat Gopisha Gopika Kanta
Radha Kanta Namostute
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi
Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Sindhu
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ashwin, for singing the Mangla Charan so nicely. So, Hare Krishna, everybody. Today, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we are on chapter 9. Chapter 9, as you know, is the most confidential knowledge. And today, our mentor for the day is Nene Prabhuji. Prabhuji, have you joined? Richa Mataji? Richa Mataji, is it possible for you to get in touch with Prabhuji and see if he's going to join in? Richa? Okay, so maybe he has some problems joining in, but we can start and then he can pick up. Yes, Narmada Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kritika, there is a Vidura Prabhu who's joined from UK.
Okay.
Very senior devotee. Why
Okay.
don't you ask him to fill in till Nene don't come?
Nene has just joined in, Mataji.
Oh, okay.
But we'd like to acknowledge the presence of Vidura Prabhuji. Prabhuji, thank you for joining in. Hare Krishna. Please accept Dandavat Pranam and humble obeisances from everyone in the group. Prabhuji, thank you for joining in the group.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vidura Prabhu is a very, very senior devotee. He was in Nairobi when I came. Almost my mentor. Anytime I had problem, I would run to him. So I'm so happy to see him. Vidura Prabhu, we can't see you though.
You're very fortunate.
Oh, Jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Jai Hare Bol.
Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Now
Okay.
next you have to come and give us Bhagavad Gita. We've seen you now, you're hooked.
I have to learn it first.
You have no choice, Prabhuji. Whoever comes to this group has to stay in this group.
Chai, Haribol.
Haribol, Haribol. Okay, so our mentor for today is Ian Nene Prabhuji. And thank you, Prabhuji, for joining in. Hare Krishna. Danvat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances from everybody on this group from all over the world. This group is very dynamic and we have people from everywhere. Today we also have other devotees who have joined: Dennis Munene, Jerry Martin, Christopher. Hare Krishna to everybody, and thank you for joining in. We meet at the same time every day on the same link. So if you would like to join in, kindly join in every day. Okay, Prabhuji, so we've just done the Manglacharan, and now we are doing the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are on chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, and a very important text today, Prabhuji, text 30. So, Prabhuji, the format that we have over here is that we read the text and then the word to word, we then read the translation and then the purport, and then we reflect on it, and then we have a mentor who would just guide us in our conversation. But the purport for today is very big, so maybe we can take a little part of it and then discuss, and then read another part and then discuss. Yeah. How would you like this session? Do you think it is okay? I can't hear you, Prabhuji. We can't hear you. Your mic is on, but your audio is not, your volume is low. Please increase your volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's perfect.
Oh, Jai. Sorry, yeah, no, it's a little bit of a strenuous circumstance here at the manor, trying to get the space to be able to, so for like the past 15 minutes, I was rushing between rooms and trying to get a spot so that I could log in and tune in on time. I was studying back to Shastri, so the transition was quite quick. But no, I also wanted to say thank you, Mataji, for giving me the service and for kind of allowing me to join this wonderful Sangha. Also a special, Dandavat Pranam to Her Grace Mansiganga Mataji. I think she's left. I saw her earlier on.
No, she's here. She's there.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. She's one of the mothers who gave me like strength to take up to the practice together with Govinda Prem. That's how I joined. And so all glories to them for being like my initial gurus, and to all the devotees for coming together like this. Yeah, so no, I love the format. It's a very nice format, and it's nice so we can all reflect and kind of share. And yeah, I guess from there we can all grow in our understanding of the verse. So I'm more than happy to run it that way.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, since you've joined our group for the first time, and I did request for your CV, we don't know a lot about you. So I don't know whether Richa Mataji can introduce you, or whether you'd give us a little, or Vidura Prabhuji can introduce you. Yes, Richa Mataji.
Well, oh, sorry. Hare Krishna, Mom.
I think he should give his own self-introduction, although some of the girls know him very well, in the sense they were his fan. I didn't know he was on the TV from a very young age. Give your own biography a bit, even I want to know, Ian.
Hare Krishna, Manasaganga Mataji. Thank you so much. So yeah, just as a brief thing, I lived in Kenya majority of my life. And it was probably Krishna's arrangement that I got involved in the acting and the media industry. So some of the TV shows that were popularized in Kenya was one of those that I took part in. And I kind of was engaged in acting. I was doing the TV show for a big chunk of my life, from when I was around 12 years of age up until I was 18. So around 6 years of my life, I was engaged on the TV, and I was doing plays and performances like this. So probably that's where I'm a little bit familiar. My face still looks the same. It hasn't changed much. And then when I reached 18 years of age, or actually 19, I decided to go to university. So I planned to come to the University of Kent in the UK, in Canterbury, to study and, pursue a degree in marketing. And then I did the degree, and as I was working through the degree, I went back home for the holiday, and I got to find out that someone very close to me was diagnosed with cancer. And so I was in very much distress, questioning, why would this happen? Like, what's the value of life? Why would someone so good and who presents themselves in such a good way in this world is getting sick and diagnosed with a life-threatening disease when everyone else is intoxicating, engaging in illicit activity, or so I thought, but is still living a prolonged life. So that kind of stemmed my inquiry. And thanks to the good fortune of one of the mothers that Mansiganga was actually training, her name was Stephanie. She used to be my neighbor back when I was in Nairobi in South B, Stephanie Ikundo, and I'd seen she posted a picture of a Prabhupada disciple on her Facebook page, and I was attracted because this person looked very spiritual. And the quote was, I think, a conversation on Prabhupada where he was talking about if you're fixated in divine consciousness, then material consciousness doesn't affect you. So I was quite intrigued and chose to ask, what is it that you guys are practicing? What is all this about? With the hopes to get a more understanding of how I can be more centered within myself. And then she introduced me to the process of Bhakti Yoga. And then I had, together with another devotee, Hanuman Prana, they invited me to the temple in Nairobi. And I got to eat a rasgulla. And once I ate the rasgulla at the temple, then everything changed. I got to meet Govinda Prem, and he spoke to me, and Govinda Prem Prabhu advised me that this is something worth taking up in my life. And then they gave me a few books to read. And after reading one known as The Matchless Gift, I felt that this is probably the proper step for me to take. And so I carried on, and I went back to university, but engaging with the devotees. Krishna arranged that I met some devotees in the United Kingdom, and then I found my way to the Soho Temple and then the Bhaktivedanta Manor. So after developing a relationship with the devotees, I decided that after my studies, I'm going to move in. And so I moved into the temple in 2019, end of 2019, just before COVID. And I've been in the temple ever since, just trying to also go into my understanding of bhakti and how we can be able to share it with others and get people to be happy and be alleviated from distress like that. But yeah, so yeah, probably the familiarity comes from the screens when I was on television doing like the shows and stuff like that. And so people might familiarize with me from Nairobi or from Eldoret, I'm not sure, but from around this space, probably they were able to identify the show. And that's how people probably would recognize my face. But besides that, just a young devotee trying to go deeper into the process of bhakti also like this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Wow, that's so inspirational, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure there's more to it, but this is good for starters, and thank you so much. So let's start. We'll read the text once only today because we would like to spend more time on the purport. So Prabhuji, if you can lead us, if you can read the text for us so that we can repeat after you line by line.
All right. Okay. So the Sanskrit?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. So text 30. Apichet suduracharo.
Apichet
Suduracharo
Ajate mamananya bhak.
Bhajate
Mamananya Bhak
Adur eva samantavya.
Sadhu eva samantavya
Samyak vyavasito hisaha.
Samyavyavasito isa. Hare Krishna. Risha Mataji, can you read the word to word?
Hare Krishna. I just joined right now.
Okay.
The text is 30.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, sure. So word to word.
Yes. Api,
Api, even. Chet, if. Sudurachara,
Sudurachara,
one committing the most abominable actions.
one committing the most abominable actions.
Bhajate,
Bhajate
is engaged in devotional service.
Is engaged in devotional service.
Mam,
Mam,
unto me.
unto me.
Ananya Bhakta,
Ananya Bhakt,
without this deviation.
without deviation. Sadhu,
A saint.
a saint.
Eva,
Eva,
Eva
certainly,
certainly,
sa,
sa,
he,
he,
mantavyah
mantavyaha
is to be considered,
is to be considered,
samyak,
samya,
completely,
completely,
complete,
vyavavasita,
vyavasitaha,
situated in determination,
situated in determination,
he,
he,
certainly,
certainly,
sa,
sa,
he.
he.
Hare
he,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Soni Mataji, kindly read the translation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Even if one commits the most abominable action, he is engaged in devotional service. He is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his denomination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. We now go on to the purport. So we'll read the first paragraph of the purport and then Prabhuji, we can discuss. Yes. So Prahlad, is it possible for you to read the purport? Prahlad Prabhu?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Prabhu, can you switch on your video just for this one paragraph? Hare
I
Krishna.
don't know if you can see
Hare
me.
Krishna.
Yes. The word Sudurachara used in this verse is very significant and we should understand it properly. When a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activities. One is conditional and the other is constitutional. As for protecting the body or abiding by the rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities, even for the devotees. In connection with the conditional life, and such activities are called conditional. Besides these, the living entity who is fully conscious of his spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position, and they are technically called devotional service. Now, in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, the Lord being situated within his heart purifies him and excuses him from that abomination. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path. For as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course, as soon as a devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I believe that's the first paragraph.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prahlad Prabhu. Anybody would like to reflect on this? What is this verse trying to say? I think it's explaining the conditional and constitutional position. Is it possible to elaborate, Richa?
Hare Krishna, thank you for giving me this opportunity. What I understand from this purport is basically it talks about the power of Krishna consciousness, the power of actions of any devotee performs while situated in Krishna consciousness, and also the power of material energy pulling back that soul in this path of delusion, which is again material energy. So it is clearly stated that one should never be overconfident of his devotion, even though it is quite okay for someone to fall back in his material life. As I think most of the people here, they know how I have fallen down, how many times I've fallen down. But it is very important that we do not pressure any person from falling down, or just because he left the path of devotion. In the end, we believe Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that any person who said even Krishna once from their mouth is a devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. We cannot blaspheme them, we cannot pull them down, we cannot just commit all the offenses, the 10 offenses that we have, because in the end they said Krishna. And also Krishna is responsible for the person who even says his name once. His breath, the person's breath, is responsibility of Krishna after that. So it's not that Krishna will stop loving us because of a devotee's action, because of certain actions the devotee perform. Because as we see, that we can talk about Gaur Gopal Das Prabhu. He is such an amazing devotee, but he's also a motivational speaker. He also teaches the materialistic people how to maintain and stay on the right track. Doesn't mean that he's not a devotee, he doesn't respect Krishna. Things which are not related to spiritual life, you'll still see him mentioning Krishna somewhere or the other, with a tilak, with in his sannyasa dress, which actually shows how closely he's representing Krishna. So it doesn't mean that certain action can define a devotee's position or his love for Krishna. Krishna's love for everyone is so much more that just by doing transcendental loving service and with that determination, even a fallen soul can come back on this devotional platform. Because I believe that we, especially me, I have been fallen. It's not that I directly came into a Krishna conscious family. I belong from a Mayavadi family. So it's not that we were gifted with Krishna consciousness, but if we have that power, then Krishna will guide us. Krishna has given us the books of His Grace, Prabhupada, and also of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, describing all the qualities. And by reading them, by chanting them, by even reaching a bit closer to that transcendental platform, somewhere or the other we'll stop falling back as much as frequently we used to fall. The material desires, everything will just dissolve, and we will develop more taste. As so many mentors have already mentioned, it is very important to have a taste for the name of Lord Shri Krishna, for Mahamantra. So once we start practicing slowly, our actions will change into devotional service and will reach a platform of transcendental service. Hare Krishna, that's what I understand.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Richa Mataji. In the interest of time, I'm now going to hand over to Ian Prabhuji, because we'd like to hear more from Vidura Prabhuji and Ian Prabhuji. We can keep on discussing like we do in normal circumstances, but we want your reflections, Prabhuji. So,
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I'd like to ask for His Grace Vidura Prabhu, seeing that he's more senior and probably more enlightened, to probably go first and share his reflection.
Hi, Prabhuji. Haribol. I was.
Prabhuji, I'd just like to say one thing. I'm recording this session. Is it okay? I have a YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and we put all our guest lectures on it. So I hope you don't mind.
Embarrassment on top of embarrassment.
Sorry, Prabhuji, didn't hear that.
Embarrassment on top of embarrassment. I was hoping to hear from Prabhuji from the manner before I dared to open my mouth to try to speak. And now he's passed everything back to me. That's kind of like the Kenyan way of doing things, isn't it? There's always some agenda somewhere going on behind the scenes. However, I'll try to say, in regards to it's a wonderful purport. It's a very famous verse. We all know it. We've all been there. We've done that.
Prabhuji, can I request if you can switch off your video because your voice is breaking? Maybe
Okay.
the bandwidth is not supporting. We can't hear you properly.
Is that okay? Is that a bit better?
Yes, much better now, Prabhuji. Thank you.
We've all been there. We've done it, and we've clung on to this verse at one point or other in our lives in the hope that we could be reconciled in our devotional creeper. But there's always been a time in our lives we've all experienced when the effects of Maya have been particularly daunting. And somehow or other, we've come through, we're still hanging in, and that's wonderful. I was very fortunate insofar as before coming to Kenya, I think the first time I was in Kenya was 1979. I was brought to Nairobi by Jaya Tirtha, who was there. He was the GBC at the time. I was looking after the London Soho Street restaurant shortly after we opened Soho Street. And I got an opportunity to come to Kenya, and I'd always wanted to be to Africa. So he brought me there. And then I left Kenya and then went to America for some time. And I was given the job by Satrup Maharaj, who was my Guru Maharaj. I was given the job of doing the interviews for the Prabhupada Leelamrita. And my area was the United States. So I covered the United States. I was traveling for 2 years, interviewing devotees who were in ISKCON, devotees who had been in ISKCON and left, politicians, street sweepers, anybody who ever met Prabhupada. I was given the instruction, find those people, interview them, bring back all the information, and then we'll edit it. And that ended up being the Leelamrita. So I remember I interviewed Satrup Maharaj also, and his interview was very interesting. In regards to this verse, it just reminded me of that particular interview. Satrup Maharaj was Srila Prabhupada's secretary, and Prabhupada happened to be visiting Hawaii. And Satrup Maharaj was traveling with him, taking all the dictation for the letters, the correspondence, everything like that. So he brought, after Prabhupada's lunch, he would take a little nap. And then in the afternoon, the mail would be brought into Prabhupada. The mail would be read to Prabhupada, and then he would respond by dictation. And Satrup Maharaj would go off and type up the answers and send them off to the various people that Prabhupada was corresponding with. So this particular afternoon, Satrup Maharaj brought in all the mail. And there happened to be a lot of mail from other GBCs, not from Satrup Maharaj himself, but from other GBCs who were all critical of Karandar. Karandar, you may have read about Karandar in the Leelamrita. He was a very, very big stalwart devotee. He actually set up the BBT on behalf of Prabhupada. He organized it. He organized the printing presses in Los Angeles. He opened the Los Angeles Temple, San Diego, Laguna Beach, Hawaii. I mean, Karandar did everything. He set up the whole West Coast. He set up the GBC. He was going to be Prabhupada's mentor, actually, to take over. But the other GBCs, there was a little bit of competition, shall we say, and they had written to Prabhupada because they were critical of Karandar. And Satrup Maharaj had to read these letters. And one of the things that Karandar had done, he had taken on a second wife. And the GBCs had pointed this out in the letters to Prabhupada. And he'd also not been seen exactly chanting his rounds after Mangalarti, so they were criticizing he wasn't chanting his rounds. And so Satrup Maharaj, he was just reading the letters. And as he was reading, Srila Prabhupada, he took out his anger on Satsrup Maharaj. Why are you criticizing? Karandar is a very good man. So what if he has taken on another wife? He's strong. He needs 10 wives. So like that. And how do I know that you're chanting your rounds? So Prabhupada just completely blasted Satsrup Maharaj, who has nothing to do with the letters. He was just reading them, but he took the wrath of Prabhupada in Prabhupada's instinctive reaction was to defend Karandar. That was his instinctive reaction. Other people may be criticizing, but Prabhupada knew how much work, how much sacrifice Karandar had given on behalf of Prabhupada's mission to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So Satrabhaj continued to read the letters. Well, he's not chanting his rounds. So what? He's not chanting his rounds. How do I know you're chanting your rounds? So it went on and on and on like that. Every criticism of Karandar, Prabhupada defended him. So Satrabhaj had nothing else to do but just go away, humbly back out of the room and leave Prabhupada alone, because Prabhupada was so angry to hear all these criticisms. So then an hour later, Prabhupada rang his bell, and he's called.
Hare Krishna, sorry to interrupt. This line is so unclear. I think everyone's having, quite a few people having a problem in hearing you. Prabhuji, sorry.
Sorry.
There's an echo or something in the line.
Prabhuji, is there another device that is on? Or do you have another device that we can use?
No, there isn't, unfortunately. Unless
This is better. This is better now.
Prabhuji, now it's better. Now it's better, Prabhuji.
Now it's better. Okay. I just switched off my phone. Maybe that was interfering with it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. So an hour later, Srila Prabhupada, he called in Satsrup Maharaj, rang his bell, and Satsrup Maharaj was very reluctant to go back into the room and face the wrath of Srila Prabhupada after what he had just been given. So Prabhupada said to Satsrup Maharaj, so he's not chanting his rounds? And Satsrup Maharaj says, well, that appears to be the case. And he said, okay, then he should resign. Okay, then he should resign. So Prabhupada reluctantly agreed with the other GBC man that if that was the fact and he wasn't chanting his rounds, then. But we see from that interview just how much Prabhupada was defending his disciple. Now he had fallen, he had done this, he had done that, but the service rendered was not forgotten by Prabhupada. And as we know, if one gains a moment's association with a pure devotee, then your life is guaranteed. I mean, that's the goal of life, isn't it? As the previous Mataji stated, we can't even begin to appreciate how much nectar there is in that word Krishna. And as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said, whenever I think of the two syllables, Krishna, and how much ecstasy there can be got by just reciting these two syllables, and just in between these two syllables, I just fall into pools of ecstasy. I can't even comprehend how much ecstasy there is there to be had in those two syllables, Krishna. And this is Mahaprabhu himself, Krishna himself is saying this. So if we have reached a stage where we're in a position where we're chanting, we're attending morning programs, associating with devotees, we are the most fortunate people in existence. There's nobody more fortunate than us. And we see the turmoil that the planet is going through right now, and somehow or other, the devotees have managed to hold together. We've come through it, and we've survived. And we've survived not only materially, we've survived in our Krishna consciousness. The energy of the material energy is unrelenting. It doesn't stop. It's not that when we're being attacked by Maya, that Maya comes along with a placard and holds it up and says, okay, Vidura, I'm going to attack you now tomorrow, so be prepared. It doesn't work like that. You don't get any emails from Maya telling you, okay, Vidura, now it's going to be at 9 o'clock tomorrow and it's going to come in this shape and size. No, it just creeps up on you suddenly, imperceptibly, and before you know it, boom, we blooped. So we have somehow or other, we've stuck it through, we've come through. And as Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, no one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path. For as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course, as soon as the devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. I mean, what more can we ask for? It's all there. Everything is there in Srila Prabhupada's books, and he has said it countless times. It's all there in Prabhupada's books. We just have to dive into the ocean of devotion. That's all that we can ask for. Prabhuji, it's up to you now, Mr. Kenya.
Hare Krishna, Vidura Prabhu. Thank you so much for that wonderful share. And all glories to your service also. It's by your mercy and your hard work that we ended up getting the Lilamrita that could allow us to understand Prabhupada and build a closer, stronger connection with him. So we're really grateful for that wonderful service that yourself and your Srila Gurudev decided to do. And, you know, we rely on this for our spiritual nourishment. So all glories to your service. Yeah, more or less it's echoing what yourself has said and what our Mother Richa also said. Prabhupada talks about conditional and constitutional activities. So constitutional activities are us being a soul, you know, we're servants of Krishna. So all activities that we do connect us much closer to Krishna, devotional service. And then conditional activities are those that are there based on the conditioned mode of material nature, having this material body, having to maintain this body, you know, the works like this. And so Prabhupada was saying, you know, that there can be a competition to some extent between these two. You know, some of us, we're living in the temple, we've got the good fortune. So every morning we're waking up, morning program, chanting your japa, you know, like this. And so just like Vidura Prabhu was mentioning about Kandar Prabhu, they could tell that he wasn't chanting his rounds at a particular time because he was on a strict regimen. So many of us, if we're in the temple, we're on that regimen and we're protected. So most of our activities are becoming constitutional, devotional life. But if someone is, let's say, not living in the temple, is having to go to work, you know, having to do different activities to maintain their life, then to some extent they have to engage in conditional activities also. And this can be difficult because in conditional activities, you're engaging with people who are not practicing Krishna consciousness, and you're probably going to get that the attraction for the material energy might spring up even more, isn't it? You know, Krishna says, Mama Maya Dhuratyaya, the material, Maya is very strong, as Vidura Prabhu was mentioning, and she doesn't come with a warning. Maya just comes and takes away, comes and, you know, stops your spiritual progress like this. But if we're steady in our determination, as Krishna is mentioning, then gradually these conditional activities become less and they will slowly lessen and constitutional activities will rise even more. So we'll notice, even I noticed for myself, I joined Krishna consciousness, but in my life, I was very used to sense gratification. I was used to going out for parties every night. I was used to having a drink here and there. This was my life most of the time and engaging in illicit activities. And so when I come to Krishna consciousness, I'm being told no meat eating, no alcohol, no intoxication. It's like, oh, Krishna, these are the things I was doing every day. And so when we engage in Krishna consciousness, these desires start to lessen slowly by slowly. And so even if they're there, but they're lessening, because we are strict in our determination, they will be eradicated. In this respect, there was a time Prabhupada, I think, was leaving Los Angeles. I think he was about to go take a flight. And he was about to get onto the taxi. And one devotee asked him, so Prabhupada, what's our prerequisite to become, fixed devotees in Krishna consciousness? And all the devotees were listening very attentively to get, probably Prabhupada was going to give like a shloka or give like a very, very, profound like, statements that they can, and people are recording everything Prabhupada would say like this. And Prabhupada just looked at them and he just said, desire, and then entered the taxi and then left. And that's a very, very important thing. If we're fixed in our desire, in our determination that we want Krishna, we want to be situated in Krishna consciousness, we want to be in our position as eternal servants of Krishna, if that desire is strongly there, even if to some extent these fall downs happen, if it doesn't stop us from our determination to get to Krishna, then it will go. Eventually, it will go. It's only because of the disturbances of the material energy like this that it becomes difficult. And this brings up a lot of things. At times we get guilty that, oh, I'm so fallen, I'm so useless, so I made this mistake. Krishna probably doesn't want to look at me again. But Krishna never looks at our faults. Krishna looks at what we're trying to offer. He looks at what we hold back also, why we're not offering everything. But he's not criticizing us. I was talking to one devotee and expressing to him how I had, I made some mistakes in my Krishna consciousness and I felt very useless and very, insignificant. I'm chanting in front of Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. But in my head, I'm thinking, I'm such a bad devotee. I made this mistake, that mistake. How am I saying Jaya Prabhupada with my heart? And I was thinking, it's like a parent has many children and there's that one child who becomes a rascal. And the parent still has love for that child, but the parent sees, this one is just a waste. But my friend looked at me and he said, Krishna is not like that. Even if we engage, even if, let's say, Maya's energy is too strong, the activities we do are a little bit too negative, some people had an affinity to smoking. They were smoking a lot and, they're trying to stop, but still at times, the need to go pick up a cigarette and smoke comes again. But because he's determined to get rid of it, we should not judge the person and you should not judge yourself. Krishna is not judging, so you should also not judge yourself like this. And if you keep on pushing, eventually the desire for the material activities will lessen and param drishtva nivartate, the higher taste will be cultivated. And if that higher taste is cultivated, then we'll become undisturbed by these things like that. So, I'm just echoing what Vidura Prabhu and Mother Richa mentioned. But yeah, situating ourselves in our determination is the important thing. We all have anarthas, or, in our life, if we introspect, there's things that we know are stopping us from progressing in our Krishna consciousness. It could be some people, have some activities they like to do, which are not so good for their devotional life. Others probably they like to sleep a little bit longer. Others they like to eat extra prasad, and then when they eat too much prasad, they can't wake up the next morning and practice. Others they like to keep their rounds till late, or they're chanting their japa and they're doing other things. We all have these things that we know that are stopping us from reaching that perfection, and we're too probably engrossed in these activities. But Krishna is giving us hope that if we're determined to get rid of these disturbances, eventually they will go. We've been practicing for millions of years, we've been engaging in Maya consciousness. Now we're trying to engage in Krishna consciousness. So Maya still has a very strong hold on our heart. And so we'll be trying to pull away. And at times she'll bring the feelings, she'll bring the thoughts. Oh, this used to be nice. You enjoyed this every time you did it. You sleeping 2 extra hours was not such a big deal for you. You can add a few more like this. But if we carry on and we're like, no, Eka Kurunandana, the verse says, what's the verse? Vyavasito, situated in determination. And there's a verse, Vyavasayat Mika Buddhir in chapter 2, that if we're steady in our determination for Krishna, then gradually these things will disappear like that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I think in the interest of time, is it possible for you to continue? Because we have the whole two more paragraphs remaining.
Okay, also with the explanation, or
yes,
like with the rest of them? Okay, no problem. So we can just skim through. I did do some highlighting. So I got some major parts that I thought would be important. So in the next paragraph after the first one that Prahlad Prabhu read, it says the word Sadur Eva, he is saintly, is very emphatic. They are a warning to the non-devotees that because of an accidental fall down, a devotee should not be derided. He should still be considered saintly even if he has accidentally fallen down. And the main thing is that it's accidental. At times we make mistakes and we think, oh, I'm a Hare Krishna, I chant the name of Krishna like this, Krishna will purify. Okay, it's one time, I ate another 2 rasgullas like this, it's okay, no problem. Or, I ended up, drinking a little bit of wine that was in my mom's locker like this. Ooh, it's okay, Krishna will purify, But Prabhupada here is elucidating that it's an accidental, We understand that we have these anarthas. If we're making an accidental mistake as we're trying to be purified, then it's okay. But if we're constantly doing these mistakes and thinking that by taking to the process we'll be purified, that becomes an offense. It's one of the 10 offenses, isn't it? What's the offense? I forget it. We recite them every morning, but basically along the lines of practicing illicit activities on the strength of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So here Prabhupada is extinguishing that understanding. Don't make mistakes thinking that because you're a devotee, you'll be purified. But when you make accidental mistakes on your path to perfection, if it's an accidental mistake and you're fixated upon purifying yourself, then it will be eradicated. And this stumbling block will be stopped from your progress. Will be stopped from stopping you from your progress. If you become situated in your determination. That determination is very important. If we meditate in our heart and have that fixed meditation that Krishna, I have many anarthas. I'm in the temple room like this and this other person is playing the mridanga better than me. I feel like I need to kill them. Some people, we have this, this pride, greed, anger, This devotee has gotten praise from my spiritual master. My spiritual master has not given me any praise. This devotee needs to leave this yatra like that. We feel that we need to have the upper hand. If we sincerely go to Krishna and tell Krishna, Krishna, I have these thoughts, these desires are not good for me. Help me purify them so that I can actually be situated in praising the devotees, in loving the devotees, in giving the devotees respect and love and adoration. If Krishna believes in our determination, because he's Antaryami, he's in our heart, he's seated there, he understands. When we're lying, he knows. Some people, they go on darshan, Govinda Madim Purusham, they're looking, they're giving such nice prayers. But in the background, they're saying all these many negative things about devotees. Krishna knows all of it. He's the witness. But if we're sincere, we tell Krishna, I have these struggles, I have these anarthas, these things I see are stopping me from growing in my bhakti, but I want to get rid of them so that I can be focused on your lotus feet. Please help me. Krishna says, Masuchaha, do not worry. If you're focused on me, I will take care of you. Surrender it all to me. And so surrender, we can see, is not just with our money, our wealth, but it's also in our weaknesses. Accepting, this is a stumbling block. I'm weak. I'm not independent. I'm dependent on your mercy, Krishna. So I need this. Help me so that I can be purified. And so even if you make that mistake, because you're sincere, Krishna still gives you the strength. How do we know Krishna gives us the strength? He doesn't remove us away from the association of devotees. He still keeps us with the devotees, keeps us strong, having a sangha like this. So even when Mother Richa was saying, I've fallen many times, but Krishna picks her up by still maintaining in her in association. Because many a times when we become disturbed, we fall away. We think, I can't go on that sangha. Kritika Mataji will look at me and she'll be like, I can see that you're just a sinner. And so I don't want to be here anymore, Mahamandan Prabhu will look at me and, chastise me subtly. So I don't want to be there like this, Krishna is not like that. He's not going to deride you. He'll give you the association. Mahaprabhu talks about Bhaktilata Bij, and the Bhaktilata Bij is protected by the devotees. So long as we have the devotees association and we carry on with that determination, then the devotee helps us. The devotees keep us strong. At times you're sleeping when you're chanting your japa, then one devotee comes, Hare Krishna, wake up, like this. They protect our bhakti and they help our bhakti become strong. And so even when we make mistakes, we take shelter of the devotees, serving the devotees and seeing how we can purify these anarthas. Prabhupada goes on to say in the next chapter, he quotes the verse from the Nashima Purana, and he mentions, the meaning is that even if one fully engaged in devotional service of the Lord is sometimes found engaged in abominable activities, These activities should be considered to be like the spots that resemble the mark of a rabbit on the moon. So it's just a very insignificant thing. At times when we make mistakes, we become so bad, to ourselves. We chastise ourselves. But here Prabhupada makes us see that actually, if you're to look at all the things that you're doing in devotional life, all the people you're trying to help in Krishna consciousness, this is just a small, insignificant thing. So don't spend too much time, because by contemplating too much on these activities, by contemplating too much on the Papa, then, you exacerbate it even more. And you give yourself reasons as to why you're qualified to make mistakes. But if you're just fixated on perfecting your Krishna consciousness and you don't have time, Prabhupada was telling one devotee that Maya still affects, Maya still tries to fight, but I just don't have time for Maya. Because all my energy, I'm using it in growing in my Krishna consciousness. One time he was praying in front of the deities, and I think Yamuna Devi went and asked Prabhupada, what are you praying for? You're Uttamadikari, you're pure devotee. What are you praying for? And Prabhupada was saying that he's praying that he doesn't fall down. Prabhupada himself is praying that he doesn't fall, and he's a pure devotee. So this can affect anyone. But if we're fixated and engaging ourselves constantly, ahaituki apatihata, constantly, without breaking it, keeping on carrying on in our Krishna consciousness, in our sadhana, seeing how can I add more reading, I'm with the devotees, how can I, discuss something, how can I grow in engaging all my time in Krishna consciousness, then that mistake becomes very insignificant and will dwindle over time. It doesn't last. It's very, very temporary, very, very short. And yeah, the other points here I can see, Prabhupada also mentions in the last paragraph, he says, this verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. Devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. When we become devotees, we're telling Maya, I'm fighting you like this. But Maya is also a pure devotee of Krishna. And Maya will make sure, okay, you're trying. So let me bring up these desires and see if they disturb you. You're saying that you're trying to fight me, no problem. Okay. But you remember you used to like, taking darshan of all those ladies over there. Okay, let's see. There they are. Will that stop you? Will that keep you fixated in your bhakti? And if you fall from it, Maya is reminding you, okay, you still have more to do. And so we have the process, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, all these practices to keep on strengthening us. So when Maya tests us again, we have a stronger shield. So in one sense, we look at the Bhagavad Gita, it's a battle. Arjuna is on the battlefield, about to go through this fight. Similarly, we're in a battlefield in our minds. In the age of Kali, the good dog and the bad dog are within us. 1 minute you're thinking, wow, I just can't wait to, to serve with so much love and desire Krishna in Goloka. The next minute, your mind is telling you about sense gratification, almost instantly, like that. So it's crazy. It's a crazy battlefield. And so to the extent by which we fight and we're strongly armored by the holy name, armored by the association of the devotees, armored by Krishna Katha, armored by, everything spiritual, getting away from the conditional and more to the constitutional, then it becomes easy to fight Maya because she's very strong. And a pure devotee, they're very good at doing their service. So we understand Maya is very good at doing her service. And as Vidura Prabhu mentioned, she's very good. She doesn't even let you see, You have those devotees who are very good at doing their service. They do it when no one is looking because they only want Krishna to praise them, to be the one to appreciate it. They don't want the devotees to say, you're very good, you're very good. Maya is like this. She won't want anyone to know. But she'll come whoop, into your mind, into your consciousness and divert you from your focus. But if we strengthen ourselves, then it reaches a point also Krishna tells Maya, okay, with this one you can relax. They're trying very hard. They're giving themselves to purifying themselves. And there's a verse also in the 11th canto, chapter 20, text 27 to 28, where Krishna also mentions that if I think this is to Uddhava, I'm not too sure. You could be engaging in devotional life, but still having a lot of material attachments, you know, still having a lot of material desires. But if we carry on with utsaha, carry on with enthusiasm like this, knowing that all these things lead to misery, eventually we'll be situated in a much better platform and we'll get the strength there to carry on in our practice. So a verse like this puts us into perspective. It makes you have to meditate on your life and see, what am I doing that's making me go closer to Krishna? What activities am I doing that's stopping me from going to Krishna? What can I do to make these activities decrease? You know, because the Shastras are giving us the characteristics of pure devotional service. Nectar of Devotion is telling us what a pure devotee is like, what is his activities. Even in this Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks, who's this Sthitadhir? What's the mentality of the Sthitadhir? So we can look at these descriptions and see to what extent am I fitting this description? And to what extent are my activities slowing me down from this description? And what can I do to improve? If I am having a difficulty with criticizing devotees, then I'll make an active step that with every devotee I criticize, I will try to give up good quality about them. I will try to, you know, so I've criticized like this, oh, this devotee is playing but poor mridanga, but this devotee is trying for Krishna, all glories to his service. And if you're making that step to try to glorify the devotees, then Krishna will see your effort and he'll help. He'll help you so that you can stop criticizing the devotees. Just a simple example. We know in the pastime, I'll finish with this pastime. In Kartik, we always celebrate where, you know, Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. And every time when Mother Yashoda was putting the ropes around Krishna, every time she was going to tie it was always 2 inches too short. And we explained what these 2 inches are. One inch is our endeavor, and the other inch is Krishna's mercy. So with our endeavor, if we make sure that we're putting in that inch and we're trying our level best, like Mother Yashoda, she tried, she was running, chasing Krishna, who can never be caught even by the yogis. But she tried her best and endeavored really difficultly to make it happen, even though it was impossible. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because she endeavored, Krishna synonymously poured his mercy and reciprocated with her endeavor. So similarly, if we endeavor in our Krishna consciousness, we're on different levels. You know, some people are sages, some people are neophytes like myself. But if we endeavor and we give our hearts to wanting to reach that perfection, giving our full motivation that I will try my best, even when Maya knocks me down, I will get up. His Grace Mahatma Prabhu mentions, the sadhu is a person who's knocked down 50 times, but he still stands up and moves. He still stands up and moves. So if we have that determination, then Krishna with the other inch gives his mercy and makes it so simple for us to practice and so simple for us to purify ourselves. So when we read this verse, we understand that, you know, it's a small thing. These anarchas are small. We make a small mistake like this, it's temporary. But if we're fixated in our determination, it will be eradicated. Hare Krishna. I'll finish there.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. You finished right on dot of time. But I think we will not feel satisfied if we don't get a chance to ask questions. I know this class is only till 9 o'clock in Kenya and 7 in the UK. But we'll open the floor just for 5 or 10 minutes. And if you don't mind. Yes, we have a question from Mahatma Das. Prabhuji, kindly unmute and ask a question or comment.
Sorry, there is no question, but I want to add something which is very nice. Srila Prabhupada has said the story in New York in 1966. Yeah, and the story, just I will simply read that, a few lines.
Okay.
This is a story of how habit becomes a second nature. There was a thief who went on a pilgrimage with some friends. One night, I hope it is audible properly.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear.
Yeah. There was a thief who went on a pilgrimage with some friend. One night, when his friends were sleeping, and because of his habit was to steal at night, he got up and began to steal from someone's bags. At the same time, thinking, I have come to this holy place of pilgrimage, yet I am still committing the theft out of habit. I shall stop. But still he took someone's bags and hid it. All night, the poor fellow did this. However, his consciousness then got the better of him, and in the morning, when his friends got up and could not find their bags, the thief owned up and confessed, my dear gentlemen, I am the thief, and because I usually steal at night, I wanted to steal your bags. Then I thought, I have come to this holy place, I shall not steal. So I switch your bags around. Please forgive me. He does not want to commit the theft, but he has a habit of stealing, although he has decided not to commit theft anymore. Because of his habit, sometimes he still does. Therefore, Krishna says, in that condition, one who has decided to stop all bad or immoral habits and progress in Krishna consciousness, and then by chance does something which is immoral in the face of the society, that should not be taken account of. This was Prabhupada has lecture in New York 1966, while he was giving the lecture of chapter 4, text 7, 8, 9.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for sharing that story. That was really, really appropriate. Thank you, Prabhuji.
There is a one more pet incident even during the Prabhupada last times. When Prabhupada was in Vrindavan in a bed conditions. 1 month or 1.5 months ago, his disciple who was sannyasi and get married, and then he left the ISKCON. Now Prabhupada was knowing all these incidents, and he was living in Delhi. And other disciple of Prabhupada who was living with the Prabhupada at the last time, right? They were talking each other about his falling down of that disciple. I forgot his name actually, who was that. Then when he heard that Prabhupada has a last time, so he came to Vrindavan to see Prabhupada. Then at that time, Prabhupada gave the order that nobody should meet him. Nobody should allow him to meet, because everybody was asking, Swamiji, how are you? Are you okay? And they were suggesting some medicines. And that was Prabhupada was feeling that these unnecessary mundane talks, and it may distract out of chanting, etc. So he instruct his disciple, nobody should come to meet me. Then when that sannyasi who got married was Prabhupada disciple, when he heard, he came to meet Prabhupada and requested him that all the disciple of Prabhupada, they don't allow that. Simply Prabhupada has instructed nobody should meet him. So he requested, okay, fine, go and ask Prabhupada. If Prabhupada allowed, I will come, otherwise I will go back. So now this story was narrated by Badrinath Swami in a Vrindavan a couple of years ago, when I was in Vrindavan, and in the class, this story that it is related to point of the criticizing. So the person who stopped him to enter to the Prabhupada room.
Prabhuji, we have lost you. Prabhuji, we can't hear you. Mahamandas Prabhuji. That's sad.
We lost him. Move on.
Yes. Okay. I think Prabhuji can join in. I think his internet has dropped. Richa Mataji had a question.
Hare
Richa?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Am I audible? Because
Yes,
I think
you
I
are.
was deleted from the class.
Okay. We can hear you.
Yes, okay. So I had a question that we are talking a lot about Maya. So everyone generally says that we should, fight Maya, try to avoid it. But don't we forget that also Maya is a devotee of Krishna. So how can someone even fight a devotee of Krishna? Because in the end, we know that Maya has been generated through Krishna. So I feel a bit, I get a bit confused that should I fight Maya or should I try to be friends with it so that it can help me get more closer to Krishna? Because if I try fighting a devotee, in the end, it's going to be an offense that
Richa
All right, you
Mataji,
can
we can't
answer.
hear you as well,
I
but
think you got
maybe,
the gist. You got the gist. Ian can
yes,
answer the
yes,
question.
Ian, Prabhuji, can you answer the question? So
Yeah,
this is
also
fighting the Maya.
his Grace Vidura Prabhu was also going to answer us, so he can go first, definitely. Nice to hear from him.
Yes, Prabhu, can you?
Thank you, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Well, there's the perfect example, particularly with regards to this question, of Haridas Thakur, who was tempted directly by none other than Maya Devi herself. And Haridas Thakur said, yes, 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 I will fulfill your desires. Just give me a chance to finish my rounds. And Haridas Thakur continued to chant, and the night went on. And then he said, no, just 2 more rounds, just 2 more rounds, and I'll be with you. Don't worry, don't worry. And it went on and on and on and on till the Maya Devi, the prostitute, in the guise of a prostitute, she heard so much the Maha Mantra directly from the lips of a pure devotee, the Namacharya, that she herself became a devotee. So it's not that we're in a battle with Maya as a devotee. Maya is just presenting us with the opportunity to fulfill our material desires. And those material desires are facilitated by us being here in the material world. And Maya Devi's job is to remind us constantly that, yes, this is the material world. So it's not Vaikuntha. So it's her job to remind us of that fact. And if we learn the lesson from the constant kicking of the donkey who's trying to have sex and gets kicked and kicked and kicked constantly and doesn't learn the lesson, then tough, sorry, but that's the way it is. So we can engage, we can ultimately, when we reach that stage, we can engage Maya Devi in the service of Krishna, because Maya Devi is already in the service of Krishna. So all we're doing then, as we develop our Krishna consciousness, is to dovetail those activities that we engage in, dismiss all the desires, the material desires that we have, and dovetail those desires in a spiritual way in Krishna consciousness to ultimately help ourselves. Maya is there ultimately as our servant. The problem is we see Maya as an obstacle. Maya is not an obstacle. Maya is there very much to re-engage us, to help us remember, as Prabhupada explained so many times. Remember means again to become a member of the family of Krishna. So that was what sprung to my mind when I was hearing that question. Jai, thank you very much.
Yeah, just connected with, thank you so much, Vidura Prabhu, for mentioning it in that way, because I think when we mention that we're in a war with Maya, there's a connotation that it sounds like, it's like a negative, in a negative way. But really what we would mean by this is that we're in war in the sense that we're trying to acknowledge when we can block out from reminding us of that deviation. Because as Prabhu mentioned, Maya's display shows us how far we are from our concentration on Krishna. So, hey, fix up. Hey, it's kind of like a reminder like this. And we see Prabhupada one time in the morning walk, I think he said that the main problem with my Western devotees is that they are not fearful of Maya. You know, in the Bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jeev Jago Gora Chandra Bole, in one of the verses, what's the translation? How long will you sleep in the lap of this witch called Maya? Because to some degree, she has a tendency to attract us to those things that the predilections of our senses have been accustomed to for millions of births. So in that sense, it's a fight because we're trying to now become more spiritually situated. But not that it's a fight like, you know, in a negative fashion. It's just to prepare us and to make us be cautious of when Maya's attack becomes, let me not use that Maya's attack, Maya's reminder becomes, you know, we get to understand it at a position where we've already acted on these desires, you know, because, you know, you have the choice, you know, I think Krishna mentions that it first starts from contemplation, you know, then from contemplation, attachment, from attachment, you're disappointed, anger, and all these things leading to bewilderment and delusion and falling back into the material pool. So we're really trying to protect ourselves from allowing Maya to help us remanifest that contemplation on these material sense objects so that we don't go through that cycle. So it's not really in a negative sense when we say, I know we say it is like, you're in war, you need, but it's also in the sense that, you know, just to protect ourselves, because her service is to remind us, okay, you know, these things you need to improve on so that you can be fixated on Krishna like this. That's her service. And then at some point, as Vidura Prabhu mentioned, is that it reaches a point where Maya becomes an assisting aid, isn't it? She becomes an assisting aid to your devotional life, like that, you know? So yeah, that's also another way to look at it. Because even when I was reading that bhajan and, you know, she's being referred to as a witch, you know, it holds some weight, because a witch is not someone that you'll, you know, befriend, but it's someone that you'll be cautious of, isn't it? You know, you never know when the witch will strike, whether you're the next person to get the portion. So you need to protect yourself and shield yourself like this. And Dasanudaso Smith says, we should not serve Maya because it has the tendency to enslave us and detain us in the clutches of illusion. But Maya should serve us. Actually, Maya is serving us by reminding us, okay, these are things you need to work on. I think after you've had too many rasgullas and you go to bed and you oversleep, your mind gets deviated into lusty desires. So next time, eat less rasgullas. That's Maya's service. She's reminding you, okay, eat less, do this, do that. Or when you're on your phone and you go on social media, you end up spending 2 hours when you could have read Bhagavatam, and now your mind is disturbed and you're making offenses. Maya is reminding you, take less time on social media and more time in reading and chanting. That's her measure like that. So just to echo what Vidura Prabhu was mentioning, like this.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Every teacher has a way of teaching. So that is Maya's way of negative teaching. And then we try to understand the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to give Ravi Prabhuji the chance because his hand has been up since half an hour and he must be really tired. Prabhuji, kindly unmute and ask your question. Ravi Prabhuji?
No problem. Hare Krishna. Abnominal action, devotional service. So where does the abnominal action end and where does the devotional service take over? Or are we not going through life interchanging between occasionally being and then devotion, then abnominal, whatever, action, devotional? Aren't we all going through the life like that? And at which stage are we gonna? Sorry, I'm not making myself clear. Is my question?
Yes, no, definitely. Yeah, you know, your question makes a lot of sense, Prabhu.
Okay, please, you take over. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So Prabhu is basically asking, so abominable action and devotional service. To some degree, it's as if we're going through these simultaneously, constantly. So when does abominable activity end? and devotional service become fully situated? I'm sure that's a question, Mr. Ravi Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's correct.
So yeah, so just to answer that, I guess in the earlier stages, okay, so if we're to look at it this way, there's that statement in one of the verses, the day of the materialist is the night of the introspective sage. So we can look at it as a spectrum, right? So on this line between the materialist and the sage, we are somewhere in between. We might have X amount of material desires, X amount of spiritual desires like this, but we're somewhere on this spectrum. As we carry on in our devotional life, the tendency to perform abominable activities lessens until it's fully eradicated. The stage in the process of bhakti known as anartha nivritti is when all these anarthas, unwanted qualities, start to eradicate. I'm remembering this because we're just studying Nectar of Devotion. So we are looking at these as well. So at this stage of anartha nivritti, which is a stage where most of us, okay, not most of us, I'm sure you're all saintly, but some of us like myself will be in an extended period of time washing away these abominable activities, the gross ones that have already manifested and those ones that are still subtly rooted within our hearts. As we carry on strengthening our bhajan, strengthening our, bhajate mam, our bhajan in Krishna consciousness, then these activities erupt, they come out, and then we look at ways to deal with it. Then as we carry on and we get to a steady place like in Nishta, then these activities stop becoming a disturbance. So actually, I think your question was it was a humble question, because you're probably alluding to the fact that we might be still experiencing this, but I'm sure for someone like yourself who's been practicing constantly, these material desires or these abominable activities become ceased, they stop at a particular point in our steadiness in our Krishna consciousness. At least that's what the Shastra is explaining to us. And so we carry on with that determination and strength and become fully fixed in our practice, not giving any chance to Maya, then abominable activities stop there, and the devotional activities become more dominant within our psyche, within our consciousness like that. So I don't know if it's a particular point, but it will gradually reach to that stage. And and if you're to introspect and look at your life, let's say from like 5 years from now and now, you can see that the degree to which you were engaging in abominable activities has automatically changed. Like I look in my life before I became a devotee, I was going to the club drinking, And I remember when I graduated from university, my family was saying, okay, we'll send you some money, go to the club and celebrate. And I was like, no. I'm going to read Ishopanishad tonight with some friends. We got this book, Ishopanishad, we're going to read. And so I can see that the strength of these material desires has decreased over time. And so it will reach a point that it will fully decrease and diminish. But obviously with the material bodies, material needs at times are there and they'll always disturb. But if we're fixed and steady like that, then it stops disturbing us completely, and then we can relish the mellows of Krishna consciousness. Manasganga Mataji has something else, I guess.
No, Ravi himself, although he asks all these trick and difficult questions, ask him to reflect how much he has changed from his abominable activities. He knows it himself, and I know it.
But I was just going to say, surely one lifetime is not enough.
It can be. Ravi,
it can be. Yeah. And who knows? This is not your first life in Krishna consciousness. This could probably be that last life before you go. So it's possible. Prabhupada says 1 minute. 1 minute, it's possible, but it all depends on how much we're willing to put, Just connected to that, one devotee is actually one of my mentors here. His name is Sutapa Prabhu. He's my mentor here at the Mana. And he was mentioning, look at a businessman who's trying to advance in his business. Look at the amount of effort and push that this businessman will put on his business to make sure it increases in profit. Just imagine if you put that same effort that you'd put in your business, in your Krishna consciousness, you can definitely achieve perfection. Definitely achieve, and Krishna can give you that mercy, definitely. But it all depends on how much we're willing to put, isn't it? If we put in 50%, we'll only expect 50%. But if we put in everything and invest and look at where we can, which allies we can get, which analysis we can do in our life to purify, which collaborations we can have, which guidance we can get. Like a businessman, he look at the perfect people to work on his business with, the perfect investors, the perfect this and that. And when he gets his billions, you can see it's because of the work he's put. Similarly, in our Krishna consciousness, if we put in that much work, where is Maya catching me all the time? Where am I always sleeping? Where do I need to improve? There's always something to improve. He also told me, never stop working on yourself. What things can I improve? And if we start doing like that, then it reaches that point. And in this one lifetime, you can achieve perfection,
By the way, Ravi Nathwani is a businessman, okay?
Yeah, so just divert that energy, yes.
And he supports us
I'm
big time.
attached. I'm attached.
And Ian, he supports us big time. Do you know this?
All glories to your service, Ravi. So, in the same way that you're getting success in your business like that, you're putting a lot of input, a lot of effort like that. Krishna really doesn't even, he doesn't care about the desire, about the results, it's in the 3rd chapter, I think. Actually, let me see if I can find it. I was looking at this verse. I think it's 3:19, where Krishna says, without being attached to the fruits, one should act as a matter of duty. If we just carry on with our duty, without even thinking about the results, without even thinking about, oh, now I'm a pure devotee, without even thinking about, oh, Krishna Prem, here we go. But we just perform our duties as a matter of duty also. The same way you do with your business, you can attain, and he said, certainly where is that verse? 19. Sorry. He says, for by working without that attachment, one attains the supreme. So we can attain Krishna like this. And you can definitely do it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you for that inspiration.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I know we have exceeded our time. Do you have still time for one more question?
Yeah, I can extend. Yeah, I can
Yes.
extend, no problem. I enjoyed this, this association is very nice.
Okay, so this is for all the other devotees. Thank you very much for joining in, and kindly join every day if you can, at the same time, same link. If you have to leave, it's okay, we understand. But this has been a very motivating session, so kindly stay. This is the last question, I promise. Okay, Richa Mataji, quick.
Hare Krishna, sorry, it's not actually a question. I just wanted to share one thing, that one of the biggest way to not really defeat Maya, but actually understand devotion is by the association of devotees, which actually I would thank Mansiganga Mataji, because today she's here because of her. I'm in this group. She's the one who introduced me to this group, because I personally talked to one of the other devotees. She was pretty close to her. So I went and told her that, I was so desperate. I just went and told her, is it possible that Mansiganga Mataji can teach me Bhagavad Gita? I'll stay in temple the whole day. And then she's telling me, she told me that Mansiganga Mataji is really busy the whole time. And I just was quiet. I was like, okay, now how do I approach Mansiganga Mataji? I just met her once, the first time. The first time I met her, after that, I decided that I want to learn from her. I never knew her. I never spoke to her. So I was a bit afraid of her, that I was like, what if I say something wrong and it turns out to be a bad decision? Then that Mataji is like, probably you can just meet her and talk to her. I never got the guts until one of the devotees, a girl from devotee, she's like, let's go talk to Mansiganga Mataji. And I was even a bit shy. But that time I opened up to her. I told her that I need to learn Gita from her. And she introduced me to this group. Apparently the situation was like, she was taking pradakshina of the temple. She stopped in midway in her chanting and she talked to me for 10 minutes. And then she's like, I'll pass you the link. You can join every single day. Even I joined. She encouraged me a lot, like just to join this group. Like, I cannot believe someone stopping their chanting and, talking to someone just to tell them about Bhagavad Gita. And there is one more devotee, also named as Haripran Priya Mataji. These are the two devotees that really, really brought me back even when I was falling. When I fell down, these are the two devotees that actually inspired me more to get back to Krishna and understand the importance, because I think they knew how a teenager would go through all the changes, and at some point they were very understanding and kind as devotees. So this is the thing that that I was taught by them, and they always told me that Krishna always puts us in a situation where he knows that we can bring out the solution. So until and unless we keep making the same mistakes, Krishna will not bring us out of that situation, because first, we are not learning. Second, we are not accepting our mistakes, and we are not allowing him to enter in our lives. So if we do these two things, when we make any mistakes, we'll not make that mistake again. That's what I learned. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry I took too long. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. I now hand over to Path Prabhuji. Path Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. This is a wonderful session today. And I am so grateful to hear His Grace Vidura Prabhu. Vidura Prabhu is a senior devotee, and he was served many years in the Kishma temple. Also, I first here attend this Nene Prabhuji. Thank you very much. It's a very nice, wonderful session, and many people are enjoying this one. This is very effective. The thing is that you are discussing too much about the Maya. What is the Maya? Absence of Krishna is Maya. Krishna Surya sam Maya hai andhakar. Jaha Krishna taha nai Maya andhakar. It is written very clearly in the top of the back to God. So the thing is that when we forget Krishna, then Maya will attack. And it not means also sometimes our bad karma, our bad association also put in problems. And it is not supposed to be worried about it. Oh, I'm fall down, I'm decrease my chanting, I'm not doing the service because of Maya. There are so many excuses. No, it means it's the purification system. Like we are sending children, the punishment, the parents giving punishment, or the teacher giving punishment, not for his fault, but the purification for the process. So not worried about the Maya. This is a process. It is the Maya. It means the thing is that we forget Krishna, so that Krishna giving this punishment, we can improve that one. But it not means we are welcoming Maya all the times like that. That is Prabhupada also in this chapter, in the last Prabhupada also told not follow this text and you're doing the nonsense work all the day and told Krishna will save you. No, not like that. This is the thing, and it is very nice, real session. It is interesting. Thank you very much for your wonderful session and giving us time. This time is too fast. Already we are late. So now I request all the devotees to unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra once for His Grace Vidura Prabhuji and Nene Prabhuji for the glorification. Hare Krishna. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow we will be joining the Nairobi session. Path Prabhuji. On a special program on Ram Navami. So it will not be on this link. I will circulate the link. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, what time, Mataji?
It'll be at, I'm sending the link. I think it is 7:30. Nairobi time. I'll send you the link right away on the Bhagavad Gita, because Kanchan Nabja Prabhuji is not able to come. So we'll join that session.
Okay.